Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the dungeon. That is right, the studio is finally complete. Well, not quite complete. I've got a backdrop wall, I've got a ceiling, I gotta build 3 more walls yet, but it is set up so that way I can come to you from a whole new entire setting. I hope you guys appreciate this. As you can see, there's some title belts behind you. I bought those when my son was like 2 years old. He had like over 300 wrestlers, and so I figured gave you guys something different to look at while I'm doing my podcast here. Now, this is Pillar to Post, and I am your host, Pete Wall, and today's podcast is brought to you by Audible. Now, you can get a free audiobook download and 30-day free trial at www.audibletrial.com/pillar2post. Now, they have over 180,000 titles to choose from for your iPhone, Android, Kindle, or MP3 player. So it doesn't matter where you're at, be it in the gym, driving your car, doesn't matter. You have that option to read a book without actually having to read it. So, as you know, Justin Roberts just released his book, and that is available at Audible, as well as AJ Lee's new book, Crazy is My Superpower. Now, you can find me, actually you can find my Teespring Store in the description below. As well, they have Circle of Steel merchandise as well as Pillar to Post merchandise. I believe there's one Pillar to Post t-shirt as well as a Pillar to Post hoodie, and you can find that there. You can also find my FB merch page as well as my FB author page, and that'll be in the description as well. If you want to send me a friend request, connect with me on Facebook, you can do that at facebook.com/pillar2post77. VidMe. I also have a VidMe account, and that is vid.me/pillar2post. If you want to become a Patreon, you can pledge for as low as $1 a month. That's right, $1 a month. And once you become a subscriber, I will add you and give you a shout out here on Pillar to Post every episode. Also, the more you pledge, the more rewards that are in store for you. There is a copy of my book. There is Circle of Steel merchandise available. There's Pillar to Post merchandise available. So the higher you pledge, the more you get. And it's automatic. If you become, like, say you pledge $20, you automatically are enrolled in a draw, a monthly draw for a Pillar to Post or a Circle of Steel t-shirt. $30 automatically gets you a signed copy of my book, Dragon's Kin. Also, I think it's $50, you get a Pillar to Post hoodie. So make sure you check out my Patreon, and that is patreon.com/pillar2post. Thank you to my beautiful wife. I forgot my coffee, and she brought it way down here in my dungeon. You can connect with me on Twitter at Pillar2Post77. And if you have any questions you'd like to ask me and that you'd like me to answer on air, or any stories, I'd like to do some sort of sub-story, be it wrestling related, what have you. You know, life in general. I don't mind. I will discuss that here on Pillar to Post at steeldragon1234@hotmail.com. That is where you can send me sub-stories. So we're all done with the opening bullshit that everyone hates to sit through. Let's move on with the news. Now, like I said, been busy working down here in the dungeon, making sure that you guys have a better scenery behind me instead of the god-awful washing machine and the numerous bottles of laundry soap and baskets of dirty laundry or what have you. That is all gone. So we have some title belts. There is some more stuff being added to the wall. So it's going to be changing every now and then. We're going to discuss Virgil on working with Donald Trump. Also how he what he thought of Vince McMahon as his boss and making money as a manager. But before we get in, I am going to enjoy this coffee my wife brought to me. Make sure that I do enjoy it. Now, WWE legend, if you don't remember who Virgil is, he was the, manservant of Ted DiBiase back in the 90s and 80s. So if you don't remember him, go to YouTube, just search up Ted DiBiase and Virgil. You'll get a good idea who Virgil is. Now, like I said, WWE legend Virgil was the most recent guest on Wrestling Reality with WrestleZone's very own Justin LaBar. If you want to check out the entire podcast, make sure you visit WrestleZone. So on his first TV tapings in WWE with Ted DiBiase, he says, for about a year we did nothing but vignettes all around the world, dogging people out, throwing money here and there, showing everyone that everybody has a price. We proved that. We went in front of judges, lawyers, showing that everyone has a price, and it showed. He was asked on how much money he was making as a manager. Now, he doesn't disclose the exact numbers or numbers at all, but he lets you know how things worked back in the day when it came to wrestling. And it still works like that in the independents. He goes on to say it was good money. You are getting paid a percentage of the gate. Any house shows, you are getting paid a percentage of the gate. Or any pay-per-views, you're getting paid percentage of the gates. You only got paid if you work compared to today's guaranteed money, so you try to sell out everywhere you go. And we had to sell out everywhere we went. It was good to work with shows where Hulk Hogan and Andre the Giant worked. Andre was no joke. He was the real deal. WrestleMania 4 and 5 were with Andre. Trump Plaza in Atlantic City in 88 and 89, and it packed. They still can't get that type of draw today. He was asked about working with Donald Trump, and he said it was great. He's a great guy, and he had all black hair. He was just as powerful now as he was back then. Donald is a cool guy, and Vince McMahon is a really cool boss. Now, the last question he was asked how Vince McMahon was as a boss. Now, he's going to tote the company line. He isn't going to give you what he really feels because either he's still on good terms with WWE or he wants to make sure he stays on those good terms. He goes on to say he cares about his talent. He's got a great work ethic and does things right. He wants you to be on time and have part A and part B done right. So when you work for someone, you have to be, come on time and be there and do everything right. Well, that goes with any job. That you work for anyone. You got to make sure you're on time. You do the job you're given the right way. Moving on. Former WWE superstars Carlito and Wade Barrett helped bring pro wrestling to Pakistan for the very first time. Now, former WWE superstars Carlito and Wade Bad News Barrett ventured into Pakistan last week, performing for the Pro Wrestling Entertainment promotion in the nation's first ever live wrestling event. That is pretty sick. Talk about taking an opportunity. That is a great opportunity for both these guys. Now, the group held 3 shows in Karachi, Lahore, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, Lahore, fuck it, and the nation's capital, Islamabad, between May 17th and 21st. The primary goal of the tour was to showcase Pakistani native Badshah Khan, who has been living and training in France since 2010. He faced Carlito in the first ever main event, scoring the victory after special referee Wade Barrett delivered a bullhammer elbow to the former Intercontinental Champion. On the final night, Khan won a Rumble match to be crowned the first ever PWE World Heavyweight Champion. Now, live notes from the tour indicated that Khan received a huge ovation from the crowd on all 3 shows. As the only true Pakistani pro wrestler actually born in the country. Last year, Chicago wrestler Mustafa Ali became the first star from the country to be signed by WWE, furthering a movement of fans in the region that ultimately prompted Pro Wrestling Entertainment to open its doors last week. In an interview with local press, Khan stated that the long-term goal for the promotion was to establish Pakistan's first wrestling school, with more shows planned for the future. I have to say hats off to him. I hope they're successful. The article does go on to say, although details are somewhat limited, it appears the production of PWE's first ever tour was handled exceptionally well. Photos sent in to us by a local fan who attended the event's show as a full-size ring with custom skirts, ring steps, a massive lighting rig, and even a jumbotron over the entrance ramp for fans in the bleachers to see clearly. So it looks like they had a pretty damn good setup. I really hope that they make something out of this, the wrestling school as well as the promotion. It's good to see that more countries are getting involved with the whole wrestling world. So hats off to them. Cody Rhodes on haters and proving people wrong. Which WWE star he models his backstage behavior after and post WWE opportunities. Now, we all know Cody Rhodes, aka Stardust, walked out on WWE, and he has been a success in the indies. He's not allowed to use the Rhodes name any longer since he's walked away from WWE. So, he is simply known as Cody, or the American Nightmare. Now, Cody Rhodes recently spoke with Double G Sports, and below are some of the highlights. Actually, I'm going to read you those highlights. Being able to compete on so many shows after leaving WWE, and he goes on to say, I feel really whole. It's so easy to tell people that you are good or you're great, and that WWE, didn't give me the opportunities I deserved. There does come a point, however, where someone says they will check out an independent show I'm at, and if you suck, I know you were lesser than. Those moments have actually been pretty cool, because it's so fun to see negativity on social media and see it diminish. It's great to prove people right, but it's even better to prove them wrong, and I'm obsessed with that. I've seen people admit that they have spoken too soon and that they want me to win the Ring of Honor World title, or any for that matter. He's asked about haters coming out when he first left WWE, and he says, I think there are less haters than before. We did start off a little rocky, though. It could have started with the Evolve audience. To start off, I love Gabe and Evolve, especially Ethan Page. My first 2 shows there got a lot of viewers, but people judged me based off of them. They weren't seeing what I was doing week in and week out after. This is where it's really happening, and I hope people would check it out. The more streaming, the more Flow Slam, the more Fight TV, and the more pay-per-views help. I believe I've shown people that there is a lot left in the toolbox and gas left in the tank. He's asked about his backstage attitude. He goes, I kind of modeled my attitude backstage and towards the business after Kane. He's running for mayor now. He is the best example on how to be an older gentleman, a veteran in our business. Everybody after 2-4 years goes through that phase where they think they are a veteran. After about 6 years in, you start to think you're really a veteran, and then you realize that it never ends. You should always treat everyone with fairness, kindness, and shake everyone's hand the same way you would shake Vince McMahon's hand. Everybody matters. We all do this together, from the fan out there in the street who may or may not be a collector to Vince. Never devalue anyone, and that is great advice coming from such a young man, but he is a veteran in this business, so he knows how things work in the wrestling world. Cody Rhodes, if you want to check out his stuff, he is in Ring of Honor right now. Make sure you check out his indies matches, because they are phenomenal. It clearly shows that WWE just did not have any kind of creative thought when it came to Cody Rhodes' character, and it's good to see that he's proving them wrong. I'm going to take a sip of coffee here, and then I'll move right along. The Young Bucks discuss on not going corporate, how the Elite idea started, and when they hope to stop. Now, the Young Bucks spoke to a music blog, AMBY, on a number of wrestling topics. So I've got the highlights here for you, so let's move right into it. They were asked how much longer they want to wrestle. Matt Jackson, if you don't know the names of the Young Bucks. Matt Jackson commented, "It's a constant state of jet lag and tiredness and caffeine. This is our life." Nick, his brother, went on to say, "It's cool though, because we know we only have a certain window to do this, and we're trying to enjoy every minute of it. Because I'm not going to be doing this in 15 years. Matt also replied saying, "No, I'm not going to be doing this in 8 years." They were asked how the Elite idea initially formed. Matt replied first, stating, "Yeah, it was like a tongue-in-cheek thing. Yeah, we're the elite wrestlers in the world, right?" Then, one day, on the fly, it was scripted for Kenny Omega to turn on AJ Styles, but it wasn't scripted for us to return to the ring, just the three of us, and then jump him and beat him up more. And then take a picture. That was something we just did on our own, and and then we get to the back, and people are already sending me picture on Twitter. I put the Elite of the Bullet Club as a caption, and immediately people were like, "Whoa, what's that?" And I'm like, "We need a shirt. We need a shirt." They were asked about being able to stay as independent wrestlers. Matt also was first to reply to this. He goes, "It's because of them, the fans, that we still are able to be independent. We haven't had to go corporate or whatever you want to call it and go sign with WWE because we don't have to. We absolutely don't have to. We actually probably make more money with what we're doing now independently as artists than we do if we join that place," which is crazy. It's mind-blowing to me. That's a thing. It's a road less traveled, or a road that's never really done before. We've paved this thing. Not a lot of people have gotten to do this. We're kind of like the first guys to do There are guys like Colt Cabana who I have to give credit to because the guy is a genius. He's like the forefather of this whole thing. So that is your article on, or interview with the Young Bucks. I think it is a pretty extraordinary thing that they've been able to stay independent as long as they have. I do eventually would like to see them come to WWE, but I also look at what is better for them as wrestlers. And if they are making more money in the independents, as well as being able to have a little bit more creative control over their characters and what they do, to me, it's aces, man. You keep them where they are. If they're loving what they're doing, continue to do what you're doing and do it the way you do. You should not ever sell out just because. If you're going to sell out, make sure it's worth your time and you're enjoying yourself at the same time. Shinsuke Nakamura rumored to be getting a WWE title shot. I think it's a bit soon, but let's read what this has to say. WWE is advertising WWE Champion Jinder Mahal defending his title against Shinsuke Nakamura for SmackDown Live events in early July. It should be noted that Randy Orton is not advertised for those shows, so it could be Nakamura filling in for Orton and not the creative direction for the title this summer. Like I said, it's way too soon for Nakamura to be getting a title shot on SmackDown Live. He should not be pushed that quickly. It needs to be a slow build. Let him capture the Intercontinental title, or is it? No, it's the United States title. Let him capture that title first. Let him conquer that, the mid card, and then get into the main event. Yes, someone could argue that others are thrust. Look at Jinder Mahal; he was just thrust. into the spotlight after being a jobber for so long. But he's been being used incorrectly, in my opinion. Now, would I rather see Jinder Mahal as a champion than Randy Orton? Yes, I would rather see that. But his push came too soon. He wasn't built up properly, and he was slapped with a very poor gimmick, and that is your foreign heel. Hate it. Don't want to see shit like that work with Shinsuke Nakamura. TV CEO says WWE needs more Sami Zayns. I do agree. Sami Zayn is pretty fucking awesome in that ring. OSN CEO Martin Stewart spoke to CPI Financial about the new WWE Arabic show, WWE WAL3's OOHA. Don't know what that stands for, but it's there. Which premiered earlier this month on OSN Sports Action 1 HD. During the interview, Stewart talked about the relationship with WWE and wanting the company to create more Arab wrestlers. He goes on to say, the first step that I think that we've taken together is to have the tryouts in Dubai, Stewart said. We were very vocal with WWE to bring them here to do the tryouts because we need to see more Arab superstars, more Sami Zayns. That's important to us. The tryouts have gone very well, and we will be following the progress of all the people that get selected as we go through as we go through the developmental program and hopefully live on OSN on NXT, Raw, SmackDown, or even WrestleMania. We'll follow their story, and that will hopefully be the first of many initiatives to make sure we have as much of a WWE presence in the Middle East as possible. So, you know, I think if you're looking for a certain type of athlete to put on your card, you cannot lose with a Sami Zayn type character. It's a good idea that they're looking for that kind of talent, but they don't need to just solely focus on that. You want your big men, you want your little men, you want your medium-sized men. You want a well-rounded looking roster, not simply just one style, one look, and you know, if everyone's the same, you're going to suck. It's going to be boring. Moving on. Cody Rhodes on making a decision to stay with one company. Now, Chuck Carroll recently interviewed Cody Rhodes for his latest column for CBS. He was asked, you mentioned your wife, Brandy Rhodes, when last we spoke. She was still training and premiered in Impact. How is that coming along? What does the future hold for her? Cody Rhodes stated, she's crazy. She wants to do tables and tacks. She's asked me about Flash Paper and the other day. Shut up, seriously. And he goes, yeah. She did tacks with Joey Ryan at WrestlePro in Orlando. I gave her the worst advice ever and said you won't feel it because of the adrenaline. And then I could tell she felt every bit of it. But Flash Paper is when you're literally throwing a fireball at somebody. So I might draw the line at Flash Paper. She likes that gritty element of what we do. It's funny because I don't know if she watched any of ECW or Deathmatch stuff or any old Terry Funk stuff. Maybe she has been. He was asked, you did an interview with Sports Illustrated not long ago where you said that it was almost time to make a decision on a permanent new home. What goes into the decision? He goes on to say, I guess I spoke too soon. It's probably not time to make a decision. But if I did make a decision, it's just a matter of trust. There's so little trust in pro wrestling, so little, and there should be. We all love this thing and want to put on the best show and fill all of the seats in the house. But it's trust and being around people in the office that I trust. I trust every guy in the locker room for the most part, but it's finding that top brass in most companies that I know if I put my name on the dotted line, that I'll be taken care of. Honesty, any offer that came my way, I haven't really looked at. My date book is still pretty deep, all the way through September. It goes everywhere. We'll probably revisit it then. So, end of September, but you don't have a firm date. And he stated no. I keep adding independent dates, so who knows? It's good to see him keeping busy. I do want to see him settle into one company because it's hard to follow his career in the indies when he's going all over the world and from independent show to other independent show, different promotion to different promotion. I would love to see Cody back in WWE, but even if he settles for Ring of Honor, that's fine, man. It's fine. Even New Japan, you know? Give one of them a chance. Matt Riddle on why he doesn't want to sign with WWE right now and not wanting to go through NXT. Ring Rust Radio recently interviewed Matt Riddle, and this is just the highlights of that conversation. He goes, "You often hear about how tough it is to go from professional wrestling to MMA, with CM Punk being a prime example. But for you, what are some of the biggest challenges you faced in transitioning from MMA to pro wrestling?" Matt Riddle stated this: "With MMA and jiu-jitsu, you aren't working with people, you are working against them, trying to set them up to catch them in a trap. You hide your strikes, submissions, and takedowns. You hid your setups so no one knows what you are doing. In pro wrestling, you telegraph every strike, takedown, and every throw I'm about to do. Very rarely is it out of nowhere. Most of the times, it's a comeback, and they know. When you are entertaining a crowd of 700 people live, there is no instant replay, so you have to make things larger than life so people can see it firsthand. The other hard thing for me was selling. When you fight and you get punched in the face, you don't show it. In pro wrestling, you barely get touched, and you have to show a lot." He was asked, "I read an article you conducted recently discussing your interactions with fans, taking pictures, selling shirts, and hanging out with fans after the matches. Over the years, you hear a lot of stories about wrestlers not embracing fans in this manner or perhaps feeling bothered by fans. Is this just something that's part of your personality, or did somebody advise you on how to deal with the fans?" Matt Riddle stated, "Even when I fought in the UFC, I wasn't able to sell merch or anything like that. When I was in the UFC, I would get tickets for a fight, and then what I would do is go in the crowds and watch the rest of the fights. A lot of times, I would end up taking pictures and signing people's books. I didn't care if I got any money or anything. I was just there enjoying my time and watching the fights." Sorry about that. I am getting a Skype call in the middle of my podcast here. I just got rid of it. Now that I feel like I owe it to anyone, or not that I feel like I owe it to anyone, but I was just enjoying myself. If someone comes up to me and asks for an autograph or picture, who am I to say no? It's the same thing with wrestling. When I go out there to my merch table during a show, I have heard old-timers, don't like that because they think it's disrespectful. When I'm sitting in the back when all my friends are wrestling, and I can't see shit because I am in the back. So, I would rather go out to my merch table, hang with the fans, and watch the matches from my table. I'm not in a front row seat, so I am standing in the back and have a great view of the action. I don't think I go out of my way to hang out with the fans, but I am there with them. If someone was like, hey, let's go get a drink, and I am already hanging out with them, why not? I have seen other wrestlers who would say, I am not hanging out with that Mark. I would tell them we are all marksmen. We are wrestlers. I may hate them someday, but right now, I love the fans and they seem to love me. I enjoy their company and I enjoy watching wrestling. I feel like that's why I get along with so many people on the indies. I feel like we are all the same person. We are 16 to 35 years old. We love wrestling and like hard-hitting wrestling. We just have a lot in common with the demographic, and I feel like that's why I get along with them. I don't feel out of place. It feels like home. He's asked, you've spoken recently about WWE's interest in you. Would you be open to working with the company in the future, and what are your goals, or what are some of the goals you'd like to accomplish before making that leap? Goes on to say, I just don't want to go to WWE this second. They have so much talent on their roster and so much going on. I'm not saying things won't change, but right now I am working in the indies and building my reputation. I get to work the style I want to work 100%, and no one is telling me what to do. If I went to WWE right now, it would be a big deal, but not as big of a deal as it could be. I like wrestling right now, working tournaments, winning titles, and going all around the world. At the same time, I feel like there are a few things on my bucket list to do before I go to WWE. I would like to wrestle for New Japan, or at least wrestle in Japan. If I could be in Zack Saber's situation, that would be ideal for me right now. He wrestles for New Japan, Evolve, and PWG. He wrestles for all the promotions I do, but he also does New Japan. I am very interested, but have not talked to them directly. I have run into their people at the indie shows, and that's how I have been working my way into New Japan. I have another big match with someone from New Japan, and they will have people from their office at that match. Hopefully, they like what they see and say something. If not, no biggie. I am doing great things, but ideally, for the resume checking off, New Japan is my goal. Maybe in the next few years, maybe 5, then I can debut in WWE and make it a big deal. I would go straight into the big show, not NXT. Nothing against NXT, but I have done UFC and a fair amount of the indies. I feel like the route I am going and the credentials I will have when I have that meeting with the WWE, I think the better. The more name value I have, the better. The more undeniable I am, the better. Then I can get what I want. Not necessarily get what I want, but yeah, that's it exactly. To get what I want. Now, it's no secret that WWE has been combing the independent scene looking for top talent, and that you have to be firmly on their radar right now. With that said, is there anything that would give you pause or apprehension before going to WWE? Anything that concerns you about potentially wrestling there? Matt Riddle goes on to say, that's exactly why I wouldn't want to go there right this second unless they had a great storyline and everything was ready to go with a big push when I got there, which wouldn't be the case. That's why I would rather work other places and get the experience I need. I feel like there are too many people there right now. When you start training, fighting, or wrestling, your stopwatch starts. Eventually, you are going to turn it off and can't turn it back on. Your time is over. I feel like on the indies, the amount I work and the people I work with and the experiences I have, I feel like I learn 10 times as much as I would in WWE. I feel like I get more attention and time and put into more positions where I am holding the whole show. In the WWE, I would just be a pawn right now, a little part of the whole show. In the WWE, it is such a big production. I am a little too immature to go there right now, but in a couple more years and keep doing what I'm doing will make me more valuable and the timing will be even better. I do agree with his philosophy and his ideals. I think building himself up and getting his credentials built up in the indies is the right way to go before just hopping on the WWE train. Now, yeah, WWE is interested in him right now, but does that mean he should just jump right in? Yes, WWE is the largest promotion in the world. It is the grandest stage of them all when it comes to the wrestling world. But it is not an end-all, be-all means to be noticed. Cody Rhodes has proven that. Kenny Omega, the Young Bucks. So many independent superstars are even more famous because of the route they took than they would have been if they would have signed with WWE when WWE wanted them. Now, another wrestling channel falls victim to YouTube ad restrictions. New petition urges Google to reconsider its policies. Now, we all know this story going on. This is an article I thought it should be read. With the way the ad revenue is being placed, with the way wrestling content is being perceived, we are being put in a restricted mode where it is harder for people to find wrestling-related content because we supposedly are a bad thing for YouTube. We promote violence. And I have to say to that, fuck yourself. Fuck you if you think speaking about wrestling is violent or promoting violence. Everyone knows wrestling is scripted. Everyone knows, for the most part, everything is choreographed. It is not true violence. It is nothing different than watching an action movie or, any kind of show that has action type sequences in it. Like, give me a break, people. But the article goes on to say, as we've been reporting, several wrestling related YouTube channels have had to reevaluate their distribution methods after recent advertising restrictions put in place by the company have slashed profits for all pro wrestling content. Yeah, a lot of people are feeling the pinch. The latest victim of these policy changes appears to be a channel called Wrestling Sports, run by an artist who produces WWE parody shorts. The channel has around 42,000 subscribers, with his videos over the past 11 months boasting over 2.7 million views. Their official Twitter account posted some new info showing that despite one of their recent shorts garnering over 190,000, it only earned them $11.50. To put that into perspective, that means each view is now only worth about 0.0006 cents. That's ridiculous. Now, I've been told by a lot of people that are in the top of the wrestling content related podcasts like I do, that last year's WrestleMania garnered them like thousands of dollars, and this year it was like $20, $11, $15, and they had double the subscribers, they had triple the views, and yet they made next to nothing, and that is pathetic. Now, to compensate for their massive losses in earnings, Wrestling Shorts has now launched a Patreon account for fans of the series can directly support the creators. Channel head Ash has noted that all funds will go to helping the channel grow, so that he can expand to create more than one video per month, as well as launch new miniseries based off of characters from his shorts. If you're interested in supporting the crowdfunding campaign, there are multiple reward levels available starting at just $1 per month. Everyone does this with Patreon. Pledge for $1 a month. I'm doing it as well. So make sure you check out mine as well, because it does help the channel grow. Now, with regard to YouTube's new anti-wrestling ad restrictions, a petition has been started that has already been signed by more than 16,000 individuals. It is calling for Google, who bought the YouTube brand back in 2006, to reconsider and adjust their advertising policies when it comes to pro wrestling content, so that promotions and brands that use their service as a means of financial stability can be appropriately paid for their hard work. If you're interested, you can sign the petition now with the link I will add to the description below. Like I said, I will add that link in the description below. Make sure you check it out, people, because it's going to help every show that promotes wrestling, that talks about wrestling, that has wrestling content, be it related content or actual content like I do. I bring you content on interviews, what's happening on Monday nights, Tuesday nights, and Wednesday nights with SmackDown, Raw, and NXT. And then I bring you news, rumors, and interviews on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So, that's a lot of time out of my day when I collect all the news articles and interviews and stuff I find interesting enough to bring you. And then having to do what I did behind me. Yes, it was free, but it's extra work that is related to the show to give you a better experience and make sure that it's not a laundry room. You know what I'm saying? So make sure, I'll have that on the very top of the description. Make sure you go to that link, sign that petition. It is all done online, and help the podcasts here on YouTube that do have wrestling related content be able to get those ads being placed back on their shows, because it helps us a great deal. Now, I do this as a hobby. I'm not going to cry and whine about it like a lot of people have, but those people quit jobs. Those people literally quit jobs to run their podcast full time, and now they're basically in the shitter because, well, they quit their job to do YouTube full time, do their podcast full time, and now what's left for them? They're getting pennies. They're getting pennies, and instead of dollars, help these guys out, help me out, sign this petition, make sure you take care of us. Now, like I said, you want to become a Patreon, please go to the description below, make sure you check out my Patreon, make sure you sign up, and if you have yet to subscribe, please hit that subscribe button, hit the little bell so you get the notifications every time I upload a new video or when I go live. Also, if you are from VidMe, please upvote the shit out of these videos, because that helps me get noticed by other VidMe followers. So, it's all about growing the brand and growing the podcast. I've shown you I'm willing to grow. I've moved everything down here in the basement. I've set up a better backdrop for you guys. It looks a lot better. It looks more wrestling related instead of a nasty little laundry room. Also, just bought a PS4. No longer borrowing my son's PS4. I am going to be streaming games from here on out, here on Pillar to Post, and probably on Twitch as well. I will have that information for you on a later date. Join me tomorrow when we discuss Monday Night Raw results and my review and my reactions to the show. Have a good night, everyone, and it was a fantastic time for me here in the dungeon. Have a good night, all. I'll be seeing you soon.